Governor, Director, congratulations on your nomination. Governor, I realize at the Federal Reserve that you have a big staff that advises you on inflation. And based on their track record, my guess is they also advised people to buy condos in Las Vegas in 2007. But you don't have to accept their advice. So, with respect to your predictions on inflation, how did you get it so wrong?
Well, Senator, thank you.
Could you move closer to the mic for me?
Yes, of course. Thank you for your question, Senator.
You're welcome.
So I think, nobody got the pandemic right. The pandemic is unprecedented.
Yeah, but I'm asking you about inflation.
Yeah, so I think as forecasters, private forecasters, certainly the forecasters, the SEP, the whole committee, we thought that perhaps we would see a more rapid resolution of the pandemic and the supply-demand mismatches, so in particular in cars.
Excuse me for interrupting, but I don't have much time. Do you think are you saying that inflation was caused by the pandemic?
So we certainly have seen the perpetuation, for instance, of the Delta variant leading to
yes, ma'am. But are you saying that the inflation is caused by the pandemic?
I certainly think the supply-demand imbalances that have been the biggest contributors to the very high inflation we've seen are directly attributable to supply chain issues, distortions in demand.
Well, but here's what troubles me about that. I'll agree that inflation is spreading, but I don't see people going around coughing inflation on each other. I think, and I understand supply chains matter, but so does the demand side, and so does too much money chasing too few goods. And I don't think, and I don't think any fair-minded person thinks that inflation is solely the result of the pandemic. Let me move on. Do you think that federal regulatory authorities should use their considerable power, not just the Federal Reserve, but federal regulatory authorities? Do you think they should use their considerable power to discourage private banks from lending money to oil and gas companies?
No.
Ma'am?
No.
Okay. Do you think that those federal regulatory authorities should use their power to discourage private banks from lending money to gun manufacturers and dealers?
It's not our job. We don't tell banks what sectors to lend to. We just ask them to risk manage, and we make sure they have good processes in place.
I agree with you, and I thank you for that. Will you issue a statement to that effect if you're confirmed?
Well, I certainly have made that statement. We'll continue to make
yes,
that
ma'am.
statement.
Would you issue a separate statement saying, I want to make it clear for what it's worth to all of my colleagues in government, I don't think that you should use your power to discourage private banks from lending money to oil and gas companies and to gun manufacturers. Will you do that?
Well, I won't tell other regulators what to do, but I will be happy to talk about what we do at the Federal Reserve, what our statutory authorities require us to do.
Okay. I'm going to follow up with you on that. Okay?
Senator?
I take that as a yes, and I'm looking forward to that statement. Director, gosh, this is America's debt. I'm not going to have time to ask you about it because I want to ask Director Thompson a quick question. Yes, Director Thompson. Madam Director, are you familiar with President Biden's risk rating 2.0 pricing scheme for the National Flood Insurance Program?
Sir, I'm not familiar with the details of that program.
Well, I need you to take a look at it. You talk about affordability. President Biden is about to make housing for at least 5 million Americans unaffordable by raising their flood insurance from $1,000 a year to $5,000 and $6,000 a year, and you're going to have a problem. Real quickly, Madam Governor, do you think we've got 4 big banks? They have market share between 30% and 50% in the greatest economy in all of human history. They're not really banks, they're countries. Do you think economic power is too concentrated in those 4 banks?
Well, I certainly think that from a financial stability point of view, when you have very, very large institutions that are systemic, you need to have very, very big capital buffers and liquidity buffers and risk management, because it would be very, very difficult to resolve those banks in a moment of financial stress.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You've been
Thank you, Senator Kennedy.
very kind with your time. My office will work with you on that statement about oil and gas and gun manufacturers.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay?